Hello, Whiskey Hunter here. Welcome, hunters. Thanks for joining me. We got a friend here, Mr. Baggins, our whiskey hound. Anyway, so I want to tell you about a little hunt I had a few months ago. You know, what I do is when I'm driving through an area, I like to do a Google search for liquor stores and wherever I'm driving. And if I've got the time, I'm going to stop at 3 or 4 and see what I might find. So I went to a couple stores and didn't really find anything. And then I came across an older liquor store, and I could tell it's been there a good 30 or so years at least. And I went in, and it was a really long store with a long counter. And on top of the counter were a lot of point of sale items that was kind of blocking what was behind the counter against the wall. So I went around, and the wall had shelves all the way to the ceiling. And on those shelves were a lot of different bottles, a lot of different libations. There was, some whiskey and rum and vodka. But most of these bottles had dust on them, and I could tell they've been there a very, very long time. So whenever I see dust, I get excited. So it was hard to see these bottles. I asked the guy if I could come around. He let me. There wasn't much room. I asked him if he had a ladder, or he gave me a milk crate. Really nowhere near being able to get up to the top. But I spotted a couple bottles that had my interest. And I asked him to get them down for me. They were a little too high for my milk crate. And he brought them down, and they were full of dust. And he started to wipe the dust off. I said, "Don't do that. Don't wipe that dust off. That's part of what I'm paying for." And, I have the bottles here. I don't know if the price is still on these, but I think they were $89. So you've probably heard of Ledaig before. Tobermory is the distiller now. This, showing you the back of the bottle. This is the front of the bottle, right? So it says over 20 years. I'd never seen this Ledaig, and I could tell it was old. And for $89, you got to know when to jump in. So I did jump in. And I brought him home, and I contacted Tobermory. And Ledaig is on the Isle of Mull, and was bought by Burn Stewart in 1992. And so I just sent an email to the website, and I got a response from a gentleman named Peter Semple, who is the facilities manager of Tobermory. And over the course of a week, we corresponded. I sent him the bottles. There's nobody at Tobermory working today that was there when these were bottled. So it took him some investigation, and he determined these were bottled around the time Burn Stewart took ownership. So he speculates this was around 1992, right around the time they took ownership, early 90s to mid 90s. You can see I've opened this bottle. I was fortunate enough that there were 2 bottles. I'll do a sample tasting on this at another time and tell you about this, but Ledaig is normally known to have peat in it. There is no peat. No peat taste in this whiskey. Great deal, Ledaig. A little tip when you're out there hunting whiskey and bourbon, if you look on the bottle, the bottom of the bottle of a bourbon bottle, it will have a date stamp on older bourbons of the date of that bottling. It'll give you a good idea of when that bourbon was bottled. Sometimes it's a year off. Maybe the bottle was made a year before, but most of the time it's pretty spot on. So just turn that bottle upside down. There'll be a 2-digit stamp, and that'll tell you what year that bourbon is. So I'm going to do a tasting for you today. This is the best whiskey I tasted last year. The very best. And I was fortunate to get it from a gentleman named Albert. Albert owns Old Oak Cigars down in the LA area. And we had a conversation about this whiskey. He told me back in 2006, when this distiller did bottlings for private companies, that he tasted 60 casks to choose this one cask. 60. That's a pretty amazing number of casks to taste, but I have no reason to doubt him. So this was handpicked out of 60 different casks, and I've got to say, it's definitely the best, in my opinion, the best whiskey under $1,000. That's a lot of money for whiskey. I'm not saying I spent $1,000, but certainly it's not a $100 bottle. There are no more of these bottles to be got. In fact, it's been sitting in here, and I'll tell you, it's been sitting here for 30 minutes, if that gives you an idea of the age. Since you remember I said 1 minute for 1 year of age. So let's set this aside here. What we have here is a 2006 Highland Park single barrel 29-year whiskey. This is an unbelievable Highland Park, and I love Highland Park. Let's taste this. I got this for my birthday in July of last year. The color of this whiskey is a mahogany. This is such a dark color, and it's natural color. It's not. There's no color added. It's just beautiful. Can you see? It's too hard to see. Let's nose this. You know, wow. You can tell this is a thick aromatic cream that's just, you could almost see the fumes coming from this whiskey. It's sweet, but it's not sweet like candy. It's Highland Park has a heather peat. It's floral. It's not a dirty peat like Isla, for lack of better words. Oh, it's you get caramel from this. You get a sweet oak, but an oak like after it's raining. If you were in a forest and it just rained and released all the aromatics of the trees. There's marzipan. There's a hint of salt. There's baked apple, as if it's coming out of an oven. Of course, there's sherry in here. The sherry morphs into a chocolate. Oh, it's such a wonderful nose on the palate. Oh. It tingles. It tingles your tongue, your cheeks. There's no alcohol to it. In fact, the ABV on this is 48.5, but you don't taste it. Viscosity. Thick, syrupy, molasses, mouth coating. It impels you to want to chew this. it's so thick and viscous. There's toffee in it, like a oh man, like a toffee chew almost. Again, that sweet oak. There's a little spice, some cinnamon. There's dark fruits. I get cherries, figs, maybe plums. It's very, very juicy. I gotta have one more sip. I typically only have this on very special occasions. It's been open since July. Oh, that is so good. I find most whiskey gets much better after it's been open. To me, almost each month it gets better. The finish. Have you ever had soup that is so rich? There's collagen in it, and the viscosity it almost makes your lips stick together. That's what this does. This finish makes you want to smack your lips. It's that rich, and it leaves the taste of toffee. It leaves a sweetness, a hint of that heather smokiness, but after 29 years, it's integrated into the whiskey. It's way in the background. I didn't rate my other whiskeys, but I'm going to rate this. In my opinion, I would rate this a 96. It's one of the best whiskeys I've ever had. And last year I had a lot of whiskey, and I've been drinking a number of years, so I've had quite a few. It's just a great dram. I appreciate you joining me. I hope our lighting's better now with this camera. Please subscribe. Tell your friends about it. If you like this review. And come back, and next time we'll have another story and another whiskey to taste. Thanks again for coming. See ya.